I am Diamond B. Frazier, and you are tuned into the Kickback Reloaded. And today I have with me a king called Pedro.
Correct.
First of all, we've been following each other for a while. So like he said a second ago, this was long overdue. So finally, we were making this poppin'. Before I get started, I just want to say thank you so much for always genuinely showing love, like very frequently, and you know, even making people aware about me or comment on something I'm doing or watching what I'm doing. Like, that is appreciated, seriously.
Yeah, I'm big on being very receptive to people who start ideas and just start innovative things, and I find what you do very innovative. And I have to support. Like, why a person who doesn't support it just means they're just really a hater.
Yeah.
And sometimes you gotta take that hate out of your heart and just support what's being done and what's something good being done.
Because you could actually like it and then not say anything, but you're
Yeah.
actually very vocal, and it's like, and I see it, and you're always in the back of my mind. I'm like, he always makes sure, he always show love. He always makes sure he say something positive, so it doesn't go unnoticed, and I really do appreciate it. I don't just take it as like he's just one of them ones commenting. No, like the fact that you actually comment on, something that I actually work hard on doing, that's really, really dope.
No problem. That's how I am.
All right, so I have two statements, and I want you to tell me, like, honestly, if you feel like this reminds you of yourself, but if not, tell me who you really are.
Okay.
All right, so this first one. My insecurities push me forward, and I'm able to do whatever it takes for however long it takes to succeed.
Yeah.
That hit the nail on the head.
Yeah, of course.
Thanks, Diamond.
I think your insecurities are, people look at it as your weakness, but I think you can play to it as your strength. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what helps me. That's what's always helped me push my creative juice and work flowing.
So what would you say a insecurity of yours is?
Self-doubt.
Okay.
Definitely self-doubt. Overthinking. I think I overthink a lot of things sometimes, and I end up messing up what's actually really good. So it gets to a point where it's like, okay, my self-doubt, or I have this, I'm overthinking something. It's like, okay, you know what? You got to sit back, fall back, realize what you have at the moment, and expound on that and push forward.
Definitely.
Yeah.
All right, so this next statement, I am very territorial. I believe that if someone has given their heart to me, I own that person.
Whoa.
That's strong words, but if you're going to keep it 100, do you kind of feel that way?
I think I'm going to go half and half on it.
What is it, the statement where I say I own that person? Kind of
Yeah, that's it. I don't think...
it is what it is.
I don't think anybody owns anyone, but territorial, I think that's human nature.
When you got a girl, it's like, nah, don't even look.
Yeah, that's human nature for some people, and I guess that's where insecurities play in. But yeah, half and half.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you in a relationship right now?
Yeah.
And are you with that? You like that with her?
Yeah, I'm always. Well, all right. A little bit. Sometimes I'm usually very laid back, so I don't try to overthink things, and when I do, then I know maybe I'm just overthinking it, but not too territorial.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you ain't like crazy with it. You ain't off the deep end. But
No. Only if I know something's up, then
you ain't playing.
Yeah.
I hear that. So a king called Pedro is not necessarily a moniker, but it's really a play on your real name.
Yeah.
Okay, so how did you really go with that? Was this like your first artist name?
It was a nickname, actually. In middle school, I had a friend who called me AKP. Mm-hmm. And the reason he called me that was because he didn't know what to call me by my first name, which is Akinola, or my last name, which is Pedro. And it stuck with me, and everyone else started calling me AKP. When I got to high school, mm-hmm. people were referring to me by my last name. My friends referred to me by my last name, and when I started beginning like taking rap serious, I just decided to expound on my nickname AKP, and I was like, all right, why not just chop off the last 3 letters of your first name and call yourself AkinG and called Pedro because everyone called you Pedro in high school.
Smart man. I like that. That's dope. That's
Thank you.
dope. That was thought put up in there because
Yeah.
it could have been like Lil Pedro or something.
Yeah,
but
I
it
know,
was
the
like
easy
AkinG or
things.
Pedro.
Yeah.
That's pretty dope. So you have a website that I absolutely looked through all the ins and outs, all of it. It's bomb.
Thank you.
I thought that you outsourced. So the fact that I personally know that you did that, kudos to
Thank
you.
Thank you.
So I did go and I looked into detail at some characters and like their personality and stuff like that. Tell us about what are the characters for? How did you come about them? A little bit about their personalities.
The characters are from my last project, 358 Over 2 Days, which I released in 2017. And the characters are based off of real people. Well, some of them are based off of real people. And the idea comes from the inspiration behind the project, which is from a video game. One of my favorite video games, Kingdom Hearts. And I took that inspiration and kind of like implemented it in my life because of what I was going through at that period of time. And I'm a very big concept person. So in order to make my music enjoyable, I always try to come up with these wild ideas. And that's where these characters came from.
Yeah, that was even the artwork. Was that you?
Oh, no, the artwork was actually done by a friend of mine his name is Kevin. He did the art direction for the whole project.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is he a part of your team? Because we did talk a little bit about teams.
You know, it's funny because he's not officially a part of my team, but he's a person I go to when it comes to doing certain art covers for my projects.
Okay.
Yeah.
So behind every artist is somebody.
Yeah.
Whether it's just your right-hand mans, whether it's people from high school, whether it is like something that's actually structured and organized. So who is your team?
My team is Inner Circle. I got the shirt on, the sweater
Shout out
on
Inner
right
Circle.
there. Inner Circle, and it's a collective of geniuses and innovators. Me, Vince Van Gogh, who is my producer, DJ Paul, who's my DJ, Jay Harley, who's my business partner, and Hanum, who is my photographer and videographer.
And how did these people come about? Did you go to school with them? Did you find them on Instagram?
Some of them I grew up with, and some of them I met through my process of becoming a musician. And yeah.
Everybody goes through a team, and you've had some people that kind of blew in the wind. They went and did their own thing. Why do you feel like you ended up with these select few people?
I trust their judgment.
Okay.
I think they're very honest with me. And every time I am stuck at a point in my life, whether it's in music or anything in general, I always ask them for certain advices and help. And they're always honest. They give me straight up honest answers. And I think that's one thing that plays a part in me when it comes to picking friends and family. Also, I think they're very loyal. And I'm a very strong person on loyalty. And yeah, loyalty is a huge thing for me. So they've been very loyal from day one. And yeah.
Define that for me, loyalty. It's like prominent thing. It's on a bunch of posts, retweet.
It's more than, like, honesty plays into it. They give me an honest feedback of how my music should sound, what direction I should do, whether it's a business advice. They show that. They show up to shows. Vince has been working with me on production since we were 17. And
so kind of sticking by you.
Yeah, just sticking by me through it all. It's just that. And my DJ Paul, like, I would tell him to come to shows before he even became my DJ, and he would just show up.
Okay.
Because I had to test his loyalty. And he showed that loyalty, and I was like, and he was so passionate about being a DJ. And I was like, well, he's loyal. I can see his passion in being a DJ. Why not him be my DJ? And that's how I pick my team, because I always try to treat people the way I want to be treated myself. And if I'm loyal to someone, that's what I want from others. So, yeah.
So is there any type of conflict amongst you all? When there's like a bunch of people in a group together, not that y'all want to bite each other's heads off, but it has to be some kind of opposition, or is it like, nah, it really is go with the flow?
We usually go with the flow. I think the most arguments I get into is with my photographer and videographer, Hanum. And when it comes to like shooting music videos or just taking pictures, we get into this like clash. And, you know, sometimes it gets serious. Sometimes things are said and, you know, insults and stuff, shit like that is flown around. But we always know that we're just so passionate about what we do that, yeah.
So has there ever been a point where it's like you might have internally felt like I'm done, I'm not dealing with this no more? Is it like, nah, like things happen, I
always try to keep a positive attitude. Things always happen, and I know they happen for a reason. I believe in God, so I know his time is right. So I always make sure that not to get too ahead of myself and be so negative in certain situations.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna dab into your tweets a little bit, and
I knew this was coming.
You definitely watched. Check you out. All right, so this first one, which was a couple of months back, I want to be as honest as possible when I speak to people about the business side of my music.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the business side of your music.
Yeah. Shout out to DC Top 20. For the past 2 years, I've learned so much from the CEO, DJ Anonymous, and it's just I pay attention to certain things now that I wouldn't have paid attention to when I was a teenager. And business and music is something that a lot of artists fall flat on. And when it comes to a certain point in life where I'm quote unquote blown up or whatever, I want to make sure that I'm giving my honest opinion when it comes to the business of music, just because I want to feel comfortable in what I do. And I want to have everything besides the artistic side of music intact. And I feel like a lot of artists don't pay attention to that.
What do you feel like a lot of artists don't know about the business side, or just you being an artist? What's something that it's like once you got into the business side, it's like, dang, like I didn't even think about that. Certain people need to be paid.
There are people that need to be paid for their work, and I feel like a lot of artists don't realize that. And it pisses me off a little bit that I hear stories I read about producers being shifted and songwriters not getting their credit, and I wouldn't want that to happen to anyone in my team. So it's something that I always paid attention to, and I think artists don't really care about their financial stability. And if you know so much about the music business, you would care so much about your financial stability.
What things do you feel like you should have got paid for so far and you have not got paid for? Nothing yet?
Nothing yet.
Okay.
I don't think I've gotten to that point, because music, people do, play my music and stream it and purchase it and whatever. But I don't think I've gotten to the point where I haven't not been paid for something.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're pretty good. It's like you know it before it's going to happen.
Yeah, so even just with my team, I always tell them, like, make sure whatever happens, make sure you let them know that this is not just for free. This is for business, because you put your hard work into what you do. So, yeah.
Okay. All right, so this next one, I feel like the DMV artists are trying to bite Rico Nasty style now.
Hell freaking yeah. Hell yeah.
Who in particular?
I'm not gonna say no names. I can't say no names.
Is this like local artists, or it's like local in terms of like local big artists, or it's like little.
I feel a little upcoming artists are,
Okay.
and maybe I can't say no names, but yeah, people are biting her style. She has done something very innovative.
In terms of what her
Her-
look
her-
or her music, or
Her
is it
look,
both?
her music, her transition into, because she started off with this sugar trap thing that she was dubbed before, and she transitioned into this like hardcore punk type of shit, and it's so intriguing that now that she's blowing up, a lot of underground people are kind of like trying to bite that style, and it's like, yeah, I know who started that, and it's Rico Nasty who started that.
So she's kind of like punk rockish to some extent, but it's like modern and like real hip hop.
I call it punk rap.
So do you feel like people are moving in that aspect as well, just how they say it, or it's more, what do you think?
I think it is. I think right now we're in a space where rock was in the 80s. I think that's where hip hop is. And not to say that she's 100% spearheading that, but she has her own lane, which is amazing to me, because that's what I'm about. I always feel like a lot of artists should have their own lane.
Do you feel like we have like a DMV rap or a DMV style aside from Rico Nasty?
Yeah. Yeah, I actually do. I actually really do. I've told my producer this a bunch of times. Internet James and Goldlink, I feel like they have what the DMV should sound like. And it's more so, it's almost like this, the DMV, specifically DC, is almost like a party city. And it has these club scenes, and I feel like the music that they make, it makes you want to groove and move and dance and quote unquote enjoy yourself. And I feel like they implement that go-go element that a lot of DMV artists don't do, and I feel like that's the sound, and no one's really exploiting it the right way.
Do you feel like that's your sound, being an artist from the DMV?
Yeah, in my music, I always make sure I have that, not 100% party anthem sound, but something that has that can be bumped in the club, and that can be bumped at home, or something you can really groove with, and something that has go-go elements in it.
So if you're thinking about like a Shabazz or a Q the Fool, where do they fall in the line of what DMV should sound like, or do they sound like they're from somewhere else?
They man, you caught me in a web right there. I believe they're doing their own thing, but it's more so of what's popping right now, which is like the trap scene.
So that is a DMV thing, or somewhere else, and they're tapping into another areas.
And I'm glad you even asked that, because the DMV specifically gets caught up in this web where it's like they implement East Coast sound and the South sound, and they kind of fuse it together. So sometimes it can be confused as them certain artists copying Southern artists, but sometimes, in certain areas, especially Maryland, Prince George's, where I'm from, a lot of people do implement that Southern sound.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, but you feel like do you feel like the DMV actually has a defined sound, or is it like, no, we all over the place right now, but what we should sound like is Internet James and Goldlink?
It is all over the place, and there is a sound that no one's tapped into. No one's perfected it yet. I feel like the only people who've perfected it is the people in go-go, doing go-go. That's
Meaning
it.
That's them actually creating their own lane and
Their
having
own lane,
their own
sound.
And we haven't yet mastered what our own sound like is. Because you can identify maybe a Tennessee rapper or a New York rapper or an Atlanta rapper, but aside from Rico Nasty, because like you said, she is building her own lane, but if it was another person to kind of put DMV on the map, like a Wale, do you consider him a great definition of what DMV sounds like?
He was a blueprint. I feel like he laid out a blueprint for a lot of us that we didn't follow through with. and it's someone I always look up to study when it comes to making sure my sound doesn't sound like I'm from somewhere else. I know in this day and age where everything is kind of like everybody copies whatever they see off the internet, but you know, that's the internet. These areas are still different. When you move from Maryland or DC to California, it's not the same culture. It's different culture. So you always have to make sure you're I guess paying homage and studying the people who came before you. And I feel like Wale has laid out a blueprint that a lot of people don't really take to consideration.
A blueprint in terms of like the steps you should take to get to, you know, from point A to point B.
Not just that, but the sound.
Okay.
Just the sound. His the mixtape about nothing and more about nothing, and even his first album, Attention Deficit, he had elements of go-go where, and just to bring it back, like specifically, there hasn't been a sound found. There hasn't been a DMV rap sound found.
Okay.
And I feel like while they laid out that blueprint, but no one's actually tapped it they haven't perfected that area. No one really tries to perfect that.
So with Wale, Internet James, and GoldLink, where does this fall? Is this under the same umbrella or like?
Yeah, I think GoldLink he's highly underrated. People don't really see his talent that I can see, and there are people obviously as fans, but he's done a lot in this area, sound wise, musically, that I feel like people don't applaud him for. And as much as I love Crew, and
I don't think he got his props on that. He made that song.
Yeah, it's just
like, without it, I don't even think I'd be.
It's just he's doing a lot that a lot of people are not really giving him props for, and I applaud him for that, because I love when an artist is doing their own thing, like Rico Nasty or GoldLink or Internet James, and I feel like a lot of artists should take that into consideration and
do their own thing.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so we're gonna get into With It or Quit It. So I'm gonna give you a statement. Look at you. That makes just as much as I know about you. It makes me happy that you know a little something about me.
Okay.
You funny. It's gonna be simple. It ain't even nothing wild. All right. Okay. So this first one, gay couples should not be allowed to adopt babies. Are you with that or you quit that?
Quit it. I think anybody should be allowed to adopt anybody. Why shouldn't? Nah, that's stupid. Why shouldn't anybody not adopt a child? A child needs a home. Mm-hmm. Like, there are a bunch of childs out here that people give up, and there are people who actually care for these people and they want to take care of them. Why not?
So as long as they have some kind of home, then we're good.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter who's raising them.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. I think when the child grows up, they have their own rules and regulations to their own life. So how does it really matter who's raising what, as long as they're not sickos or anything?
Yeah,
right?
which is also hard to determine, because even if you give somebody a job, people don't usually do like psychological backgrounds. It's just like, as long as you didn't get caught doing something where you have a felony.
Then there's that. That's a whole nother lane.
Yeah.
Of issues. But yeah, I do think people should be allowed to. People who care for children should be allowed to adopt children, no matter what your sexual orientation is.
So even if they're raising, like, growing up, I have two moms or I have two dads, you don't think that would kind of tap into maybe confusing them or just giving them another way of thinking? Because sometimes, when you're not exposed to certain things, you don't consider certain things, but you feel like you're going to do what you're going to do.
I think they will do their best for their adopted child. That's where the lines get blurred a little bit, because it might get confusing for kids, and I can understand that. And that's a tough one, but it's in this the day and age that we live in, it's really confusing.
So back in the 90s, would your answer probably be the same?
Yeah, I think it would. I don't think it would be different.
Okay.
I think it would be the same.
Because it wasn't something that was seen. It's definitely more seen now and more outward with it. But you definitely grew like it doesn't matter. It's a timeless thing. It doesn't matter if it was 100 years ago. Father and father, mother and mother is all good.
Yeah, I always keep a positive attitude, so I'm always optimistic.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm pretty sure that whatever happens, the child will be better off in the future.
Rather than not having anybody or kind of being in a foster home, at least you have some kind of stable home. It doesn't matter what your parents are.
As long as you're in a good situation, which if that child is placed into a good situation, I think they'll be fine.
Okay. All right. So do you agree with this next statement? There is life after death.
Yes,
You
100%.
do. And why do you feel that way?
I believe in God. I believe that this life is temporary, that a lot of things on this earth doesn't really matter. And I always strive to make sure everything I do is acceptable for the afterlife.
Okay.
Yeah.
So with that being said, you are not afraid to die.
No.
Okay.
No.
I'm just pausing because I don't know if they calling us or they calling. All right. So you say you do not fear death.
No, not at
So
all.
if it happens to you, it's like you're ready for whatever happens.
Yeah.
Do you have an idea of what might happen after death? Like, will you be this big musician? Is everybody coming back? Is it going to be the same thing?
I don't think I think that far ahead
Mm-hmm.
into it because I'm not sure. People have their experience of quote unquote near death experience, and I don't know. I'm optimistic that it's a beautiful place, and I think that's all that matters. I think right now what matters is that whatever I do is acceptable for the afterlife.
Okay.
Yeah.
So your views and stuff, will we be finding these types of things in your music as well?
Yeah. 100%. Yeah. And that's what my projects are about. I always try to make sure I'm doing the right thing in every step I take and make sure I'm not, influencing people.
And where can we find your
Called Pedro, AkinG GKALLD on everywhere.
So that's Instagram, Twitter, Spotify. You have your own website.
My
where
own
we
website.
Can all look at
all
all
you gotta
of
do
it
is
at
type
one
in the
time.
name, A King Called Pedro.
All right, so you gonna leave us with something, some words of wisdom, some advice, something you're feeling on your heart?
Life is sweet and it can be bitter. Make sure to enjoy it and not be down.
I hear that. I felt that. All right, look. That's A King Called Pedro. This your girl, Diamond B. Frazier, and you are tuned into the Kickback Reloaded.